Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so picture this. You're standing in a room, right? Surrounded by people happily chattering away, and you just feel entirely out of place. Like you're literally speaking a completely different language. You try to jump in, but the conversation feels like, I don't know, wading through a kiddie pool of superficiality. Well, you are absolutely in the right place because today we're breaking down the fascinating psychology behind why so many of us experience this deep, almost physical aversion to small talk.
I want you to be totally honest with yourself for a second. Are you completely drained by a 5-minute conversation about the weather, weekend plans, or office gossip? Do you feel like you just don't fit in when everyone else is eagerly engaging in endless surface-level chatter? It can be an incredibly isolating feeling, right? You might even walk away from those interactions feeling totally exhausted or wondering if there's just something wrong with your ability to socialize. But here's the thing. Society is incredibly quick to judge this behavior. The myth pushed on us is that if you avoid small talk, well, you must be antisocial, awkwardly quiet, or even arrogant. But psychology says otherwise. The actual fact is, you're simply wired for deeper thinking. If small talk feels pointless to you, it's not a flaw in your personality. You're not broken. Instead, there are specific documented psychological signs that explain exactly why your brain just naturally rejects the shallow end of the conversational pool. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, your brain's unique wiring and the cognitive signs that demand substance. The first psychological sign we need to look at is something called intellectual hunger. Research links high intelligence to openness to experience, which is a personality trait deeply, fundamentally tied to curiosity and imagination. Because of this intellectual hunger, you naturally want to talk about, the universe, psychology, or big, complex ideas. But you constantly find that most everyday conversations just stay so shallow. When you try to participate in small talk, this intellectual mismatch happens, and it almost always leaves you feeling misunderstood or just completely bored. And I want to reassure you right now, it's not that you dislike talking to people. You don't hate humanity. It's simply that your brain inherently requires a higher level of stimulation. Your brain demands genuine substance, not just making noise for the sake of making noise. When you're starved of that substance, your brain essentially just powers down, which is exactly why small talk feels like a chore rather than an actual connection. So that brings us to our second sign. Psychologists refer to this as hyperconnectivity. Highly intelligent people don't just accept surface-level answers. Instead, their brains naturally connect everything. Because your mind doesn't rest until it sees the full picture and connects all the dots, you inherently crave depth in every single interaction you have. Your brain is just constantly looking for the underlying meaning and the broader context in everything. And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict. Small talk is intentionally designed to be light, brief, and disconnected. But deep thinking, that is complex, connected, and requires full picture processing. Small talk completely contradicts how your complex brain naturally works. No wonder it's so frustrating. You're essentially trying to run a high-powered, complex software program on a machine that's only sending you tiny, fragmented bits of data. It's a complete processing mismatch. Moving right along to Section 2, processing the unspoken, how you manage your social energy. This is sign number 3, active observation. You've probably noticed that you tend to talk less and observe more in group settings. While others are desperately trying to fill the silence with idle chatter, you're actively observing. You're busy processing the subtle details that others completely miss. Things like subtle shifts in tone, micro-expressions of emotion, and the underlying logic of what's actually being said. This is a highly valuable skill, and it's tied directly to both intelligence and emotional awareness. The crucial point here is that you prefer to read between the lines rather than just speaking for the sake of it. Analyzing all of those subtle, unspoken cues, that's a high-level cognitive task. It takes serious focus. This perfectly explains why you might be a bit quieter in group settings. You aren't being shy or aloof. You're actively engaged in processing a massive amount of data that a superficial conversation simply glosses over.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is high social sensitivity, which is sign number 4. You might find that small talk exhausts you incredibly fast. Psychology points to this trait, meaning your nervous system is simply more sensitive to social interactions. Because of this heightened sensitivity, your brain literally burns more energy during social contact. To put that into perspective, while an average person might bounce right back after socializing, a highly sensitive deep thinker requires significantly more recovery time. Because your brain burns so much energy analyzing and processing everything, you just need a longer reset period after talking to people.
Therefore, you naturally, and honestly very smartly, refuse to waste your limited, precious social energy on small talk or draining personalities when it doesn't even lead to a real connection. You're just protecting your energetic battery. Which builds right into Section 3, the demand for authenticity and your need for genuine connection. This brings us to sign number 5. People who dislike small talk aren't avoiding relationships, they're avoiding surface-level relationships. It really comes down to a choice between the quantity of superficial interactions versus the quality of authentic conversations. Because you have such a high standard for connection, you strongly prefer quality. You rely on your own high internal standards, which means you'd always choose one deeply authentic conversation over 50 superficial interactions at a networking event. I really want to take a second, let this thought sink in. You don't want fake friendships, so you reject the shallow small talk that builds them. It's a refusal to settle for inauthentic connections. Small talk is the foundation of casual acquaintance, sure, but you are looking for the foundation of genuine understanding. By rejecting the small talk, you're actually setting a boundary that protects your time and ensures that the people who do enter your life fully align with your need for absolute authenticity. And finally, we have sign number 6. Your inner world is far more stimulating. Studies show that highly intelligent people are often way less satisfied with constant socializing. Why? Well, because your brain inherently craves space for ideas and deep thought. People who avoid small talk usually have a stronger inner world, a richer imagination, and deeper self-awareness. You recharge through solitude, not through small talk. Your mind is already a fascinating place to be, so if a conversation isn't adding to that richness, it just feels completely unnecessary. Section 4 is perhaps our most important takeaway today. Stop feeling guilty and embrace your high standard for connection. Let's do a quick recap of these 6 psychological signs that prove you aren't broken, but rather perfectly wired for depth. 1. Your intellectual hunger demands substance. 2. Your hyperconnectivity requires you to see the full picture. 3. Your active observation means you're processing subtleties that others completely miss. 4. Your high social sensitivity requires careful energy management. 5. Your demand for authenticity means you prioritize quality over quantity. And 6. You possess a profoundly stimulating inner world. So, the next time you feel out of place because you can't stand small talk, remember these 6 points. You aren't antisocial, you just think deeper than most. I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful quote straight from our source material. When a conversation has no depth, it doesn't feel like a connection. It just feels like an interruption to your thought flow. Man, that really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? So, my final question to you is this. Now that you understand the psychology of your deep thinking brain, how will you honor your need for true, authentic connection in a surface-level world?